anything that other than the object itself. So I trying to like make some connection. I call a cup a bowl or a plate, something like that, something similar, but not exactly.
But not the thing, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know why my English language escaped me in the entire exercise. I have a command of, I don't know, 100,000 words, and I couldn't come up with anything.
But one, that's right.
Yeah. Or then I started to go down a certain, like I kept starting naming things fruit because you said banana.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to force myself to come up with different categories, and then that I started thinking too much, right?
Right.
Versus, you know, but I was just trying not to have it all be like food items or something. My laundry list, right, of things I'm buying, so.
That's beautiful. Hold on to that thought, because there's something really important about that in terms of our work.
I think of myself as being imaginative, but I could only say like wood, plastic is still referencing it. It was very hard to come up with something.
Very interesting, isn't it?
More
imaginative.
Yeah, it was in that circumstance.
So like the direct opposite of what it was was pretty easy to do.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. To find, you know, something
Yeah.
that's related somehow, right?
I was surprised at the words that, like, came out, like, popped in my head and came out of my mouth. I don't know where they came from.
They just happen, right?
Yeah,
Like
like I looked at
elephants.
the ceiling and said Bible, I'm like, what?
What?
Bible come from?
I think I have a problem.
The guilt.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. For a while I was making up words and that was really fun and easy.
Cool. Yeah. Now, did you think about the word that you made up, or did it just the sound came out?
Noodle.
I noticed I would say things like, if I looked at the lamp and then saw the whiteboard, I'd say lamp, and then the next thing I'd name whiteboard, and then the next thing, so I just named the thing I just saw. I don't know if that was cheating.
I think I mean, what you're hearing are a bunch of strategies, aren't you? Like how you actually name things or misname things. And what we do is we go to these strategies, you know, and so that's a beautiful strategy. Making up blank, just making the words up is a strategy. Or, you know, finding something that's related, or fruit, I'm going to drop into a category. Those are all strategies. What else?
I think what was strange was that something happens in your brain where you first think of what it is. You can't free yourself from so it takes longer. You have to first think what it is, in your head you name it, then you have to figure out a different word to say it, and by that time it's taking several seconds to do something and it feels very unnatural.
Right.
So like I'm just realizing like that was part of the problem was I couldn't just, like I think the name, just calling it like Mishka or Doodle, it would have been easier because I could have just looked and not thought to, I think you said don't think about it, but you can't not think that's a whiteboard. Then you got to think, what else can I call it? So you're going through this whole stupid cycle for every single object.
And this is really important, like this, because ultimately what we're doing is we're talking about innovating or being creative or operating in a creative space somehow. And that is always about helping people see differently, or see what's not there, or see things in a new way. It's about how you see, or how you engage with the world in a new way. And the challenge always is that you have this thing called language. It's just like this. This is one of my favorite exercises. This exercise comes from improvisational theater. When you were 3 years old, what could this be?
Fort.
It could be a fort.
Jumping pad, jumping launching pad.
Launching pad. Spaceship. A merry-go-round, a horse. It could be anything, couldn't it? But the minute that you associated the word chair with this thing, you stop seeing it. You start seeing the concept of it. And this is one of those great paradoxes. I mean, there's nothing to be done about that, except that you have to start paying attention to how you name things, what you call things. So nobody, almost over the age of 5, sees the world anymore. We see the concept. We see the word that we put on it. We see something called whiteboard, and whiteboard has a function. So we see the function, and we get locked into the language that we put on things. So the reason that we're walking into this thing called story is that that's a story process. I call it chair. I'm storying it. I'm storying my relationship to it. And a lot of that storying, unless you're very conscious of it, becomes a limit. So even the word entrepreneur, right? If you were 3 years old, and this could be a rocket, or a merry-go-round, or a horse, or wouldn't you say that's entrepreneurial? I can see this thing in a million ways, right? So part of what we're talking about in all of this is how do you actually get back to the thing that you do most naturally? How do you get out of your own way? In the improvisational theater traditions, this exercise is used, your brain locks up. When you start to misname things, you've been so schooled in naming things, right? You walk down the street and you name things. You're sitting on an airplane and somebody's coming towards you and you think, oh God, don't sit in my seat, don't sit in the seat next to me, because I've already named you. I name, that's what I do. And because I name things, I stop seeing them. I stop engaging with them. And a lot of the work that this idea of flipping your mindset, flipping your perspective, is meant to engage you in such a way, or to orient you into such a way that you don't assume that you know what's there. You don't make assumptions that you know. You make assumptions that you don't know, so you engage with it. That's this thing that Skip's been talking about. Put a stake in the ground and go see. Go see, because you don't know. None of us know. I mean, what it cost yesterday will be different than what it costs tomorrow. So put a stake in the ground and free yourself up to let it be a horse. Let it be a merry-go-round. Pay attention to the story that you tell yourself about yourself, right? You're a storyteller. You've got an inner monologue, which means you're storying yourself in your world all the time. So what is this story that you're telling yourself? And the more conscious you are of this story that you're telling yourself, the more capable you're going to be of letting that story go, getting out of your own way, which is what this exercise is about. How do I get present with what is as opposed to what I think is? Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so hold that for a second. And this becomes important when you start doing this. Like, close your eyes for a second and remember your favorite childhood game. Remember it. And remember it in a very specific way. Remember it in your body. Don't make it a mental exercise. Remember how it felt to play this game. How did it feel? How did it feel in your hands? How did it feel in your legs? How did it feel in your heart to play this game? And open your eyes and tell me what you know about play and games.
It was so much more imaginative. Like, it wasn't a game that was like in a box. It was something I made up myself.
It was about letting go.
What else? What else did you just remember about games and play?
It was about belief and moving yourself sort of wholly into something fictional.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that, I mean, what a great description of an entrepreneur. Belief about moving yourself into something. Fictional means it doesn't exist yet, right? When I was a little kid, these were fictional. You know, there were wires and buttons. And when it got separate from the wall, everybody went, it's a miracle. You know, but that, what a great description of that. You know, what else? What else did you just remember about games?
Absolutely uncontrollable laughter and joy.
Giggling out of excitement.
Yeah, that kind of, you know, that's your creative space. And you all, everybody knows that space, everybody. That's your most natural space. There's a, before we do our next section, there's a great little tenet that I love that also actually comes out of performance traditions. And it's a great phrase because it actually, you know, it's kind of what we're talking about. And the phrase is, put down your clever and pick up your ordinary. Because the thing that you think everybody knows is probably your greatest gift. So any attempt that we do to be clever or to be better or to be is actually getting in the way. It's getting in the way of what you actually do naturally, which is your ordinary. You just call it ordinary because you assume that everybody knows it. So it's ordinary. And in that way, you get in your own way. Like a lot of what we're talking about is how do you get out of your own way? Get out of your way. Stop asking, how do I do it? And start doing it. Start making big messes. You know, put yourself in an imagination place that goes to this fictional place and giggle a lot. You know, why can't it be fun? I mean, would you play it if it's not fun? If it's not fun for you, why would you play it? Why isn't fun at the center? You know, like those kinds of things. We kind of jump over the important because of the clever. And we do that very naturally because we put language on things. It goes back to, how do I name it? Well, I've got to be important, I've got to be right, I've got to be powerful, I've got to be the best, I've got to be independent, I've got to be the entrepreneur. But you're already that. Okay, so we're going to revisit something you did yesterday. I was really delighted that Skip did this because there's so many things that we can tease out. So get in a circle. You remember this. This is angels, and I think he called it demons, right? All right.